Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Heather Dawson, with this weekend's special Valentine's edition of California Life. So are you attracted to someone you work with? A new survey found 40% of employees reported being involved romantically with someone at some point in their careers. However, people still prefer to meet someone through a family or friend. And here's a shocker. 44% of the people surveyed said they would date their friends' former partners. Well, if you're kissing more than two people within a 2-week period, a new study shows intimate kissing can quadruple the risk of meningitis, especially for teenagers. And are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Well, you might want to head south. A new survey rates the top 10 best and worst dating cities for singles in the country. Here in California, Los Angeles came in second behind Atlanta as a hot spot for singles. San Francisco also made the top 10, as well as Houston, Detroit, Dallas, Orlando, Philadelphia, Denver, and Boston. As for the worst places to find a date, well, Washington, D.C. took top honors. Rounding out the top 5, our very own state capital, Sacramento, Minneapolis, Phoenix, Miami, and Tampa. Well, this Valentine's Day, say I love you with a tweet. Twitter has a specially themed gifts with slogans for your loved one. You can send such messages as "tweet me" attached with heart-shaped candies. And we all know roses cost a pretty penny around Valentine's Day, so how about a more enduring gift this year? Friends of Guadalupe River Park and Gardens in San Jose are offering adoption that includes an engraved plaque placed in front of the rose of your choice for 1 year. They might even find a rose to match your Valentine's name. Well, you can always use technology to find the love of your life. In honor of Valentine's Day, we sent our Suzanne Freeman on a tough assignment. As you'll see in her report, using some old ideas and trying the newest technology, California is the hotbed of meeting your perfect partner.
Couples are paired for a few minutes each, and when time's up, they move on to the next potential partner. The next step is up to you when you'll decide at the end of the event who you'd like to get to know better. If your crush feels the same way, it's happily ever after. Haven't found your perfect match yet? Try a singles event like the one held at Compartes, holding chocolate decadence dinners for Valentine's Day.
Our chocolate decadence dinners are going to be 5 to 7 courses of homemade chocolate desserts, including chocolate pasta with dessert cream sauce, organic salad with walnuts and cranberries, heart-shaped chocolate molten cakes, and homemade chocolate. We're going to transform Compartes into a romantic wonderland. We'll have roses, rose petals everywhere, nice music, candles.
Now, if you feel like you need a little more help, the solution may lie in an age-old practice: matchmaking.
We are old-fashioned matchmakers. Basically what we do, we invite you in, we get to know you, what's important for you for a long-term relationship.
If you haven't found a date by now, there's always the old standby. Just head down to the bar and ask someone. For Southern California Life, I'm Suzanne Freeman. Hey, guys, do either of you have a date for Valentine's?
And if you'd like to send a Valentine or a thank you note to our troops overseas, please go to Shauna's website for more information. And do you believe love will find you? Our next guest has the answers for finding true love. We profile 2 former Olympians who have found everlasting love right here in California. It's all coming up on our special Valentine's show. In honor of Valentine's Day, our next guest is a well-known love, dating, and heartbreak expert whose first book, Love Will Find You, has just been released. Catherine Alice has appeared in Psychology Today, Cosmopolitan, The New York Times, and was a guest on Montel. She is in the middle of a book tour and was a keynote speaker at last week's Conscious Life Expo. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Heather, for having me.
And perfect subject for Valentine's Day.
Yes.
That's why we booked it, and I love the name of your book. It kind of gives
Right.
hope. I mean, how did you find out?
Well, I have found that when working with people, love is a big issue, especially Valentine's Day. And I think that when you're looking too hard, it sort of pushes it away. And so we named the book Love Will Find You because I believe that when you have the right energy, you attract love. You can attract it rather than have to go try to find it.
any age, any time in your life?
Exactly. People think that, well, if I'm over a certain age, I can't have love, or maybe if I lose 50 pounds, I'll get love, you know, different things. And I've never found any of that to keep love away from anybody.
It is hard to sit back and just wait. I mean, what do you suggest people do that really want to find their soulmate?
Well, I don't think you have to wait, but I think it's more important what you're doing inside and your energy than anything you do on the outer. And so I think one is to start having the belief that you get love, because this is the truth. And I find just lifting up the despair that maybe I'm left out of love, I'll never have it, changes your energy and it really attracts love. So that's number one.
And I have to say, today can kind of be depressing for people. I mean,
Yeah.
you are alone and you think, gosh, it's never going to happen for me. Do you have any suggestions for people kind of sitting at home and...
Yes. Well, first off, don't make a date just to have a date, because you're going to be disappointed. and secondly, go buy a Valentine's card for the love you don't have yet. I actually did that with my husband. Before I ever knew him, I bought a card that said, "Forever is not long enough with you." And then when I married, on our wedding day, I gave it to him, and it was kind of old by then. But do something like that for the love you don't have yet, just to give yourself hope, and do something loving to somebody else you know who's single, like your aunt or somebody. So.
And just don't be alone.
Yeah, don't be alone.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good time to stay home alone, because you'll kind of wallow in your misery if you're upset about it.
What about people already in relationships, married couples? I mean, what can they do to kind of keep the love going?
I think it's important to not get bored, because you can never, ever get to the bottom of another person. And so as you look for the depths and keep trying to get to know them more and keep revealing yourself more, it keeps it alive. And I think you can have crackling chemistry with your soulmate that never dies.
Well, I think it's a great message. Love will find you. Everybody wants to believe that, and I'm really looking forward to getting the book as well. So thank you so much,
Thank
Catherine,
you.
for coming on, and happy Valentine's Day. So do you want to do something special for your Valentine? We'll see why Leslie Stowe has caught the attention of Oprah and Martha Stewart, as our next guest shows us some Valentine recipes you don't want to miss. It's all coming up right here on our special Valentine's Day episode of California Life.
Doing something special for Valentine's Day doesn't have to cost a fortune. Chef Leslie Stowe has some easy and inexpensive ways to show you care.
From creative cards
I've done one here that's the shape of a heart folded over.
to a twist on the traditional bouquet of roses,
And what I have is a giant martini glass.
Leslie Stowe knows how to pump up the Valentine's Day volume without breaking the bank.
It's all about the presentation.
Leslie is the founder of Leslie Stowe Fine Foods. She has also written a cookbook.
Definitely I'm best known for the Raincoast Crisps, which are the all-natural seed cracker. We have 6 different flavors.
And they've gotten the seal of approval from both O Magazine and Martha Stewart's Whole Living.
Which is really exciting.
One way Leslie suggests adding some excitement to your Valentine's Day is with homemade brownies.
Brownies are one of my favorite, easiest desserts to make.
Start by combining a cup of unsalted butter with 8 ounces of Valrhona chocolate.
Okay, once your chocolate and butter have totally melted together and you've mixed them so they're totally incorporated, we're then going to cool it off and then mix it into your egg and sugar.
Then stir in a cup of unbleached white flour. Pour the mixture into a 9-inch square baking pan. Pop it in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes and voila!
So our brownies are done. We've taken them out of the oven and we've let them cool.
Now comes the fun part, the presentation.
So we're going to take a cookie cutter and we're going to cut the brownie out. And we're just going to put this onto a white plate. And we're going to serve this with a raspberry coulis. What we're going to do here is we're just going to trace the actual brownie.
Then dust it with a little icing sugar.
How great does that look? It's an easy presentation, looks fantastic, and your guests will be really impressed.
Leslie just launched a blog with lots more great recipes and decorating tips. Just visit lesliestowe.com. Bringing you the best of Valentine's Day, I'm Audra Stafford for California Life.
Well, Valentine's Day is a perfect time to snuggle up and take in a great romantic movie. AOL Video created a highlights reel of the top 5 most romantic movie moments that can be seen online. And topping the list was a scene from Jerry Maguire when Jerry tells Dorothy, "You complete me." And top 10 hottest couples according to lovingyou.com, starting with number 10. Well, in honor of the Olympics, our very own Brent Weber catches up with an Olympic couple living right here in California.
It was 1976, the Summer Games of Montreal, the first since Munich. The last chance, perhaps, for Bill Leach. His younger bride, fellow Olympic kayaker Julie, at 19, figured it might come again, but the Olympic boycott of '80 would follow, so this would be their only Olympiad.
You know, it seems like it was yesterday, and it's 30 years ago. It's just stunning to think about that. And yeah, it was the highlight of certainly my career as an athlete.
It seemed like a very long time ago. Seems like 30 years. It's a different lifetime. I was much younger, and I have kids and a teaching job. So actually, it does seem like ancient history.
That they experienced it together was historic. Bill and Julie, you see, didn't meet at the Olympics.
There were 3 couples that year. One was a coach and an athlete, and the others were runners on the track team. But they qualified after we did, so officially we are the first married couple to have gone to the Olympic Games that didn't meet at the Olympics or something. So now that's pretty common, actually.
You don't get to stay together as a married couple, so that's a little bit difficult.
Now they look back, winter, summer, the games matter not. They still stir something inside. All in all, there are several dozen Olympians, winter and summer, who live in Southern California, but don't call them former Olympians. As Leach says, once an Olympian, always an Olympian. Brent Weber, Southern California Life.
Looking back at the holidays, experts say more and more people were drinking beyond their limits. Alcohol-related problems which result from excessive drinking are among the most significant public health issues in the United States. According to a national survey, about 14.6 million adults in this country, ages 18 and older, have an alcohol use disorder known as AUD. Dr. George Koob, the director of NIAAA, points out the possible signs of this growing problem.
So we define a binge as 5 drinks or more in a male in 2 hours, or 4 drinks or more for a female in 2 hours. So any engagement in binge drinking or repeated binge drinking is a pretty good sign. Another is, impairment in social and occupational functioning. So embarrassing yourself at a work party or even a family gathering is another sign. And then it gets more serious as you move into DUI, driving under the influence citation, or, heaven help us, multiple DUIs. And so, there's a wide range of signs that you can start picking up on.
An estimated 88,000 people die from alcohol-related causes every year, making alcohol the 3rd leading preventable cause of death in the U.S. So what are some things you can do to help if someone you love is suffering with this problem?
Number one, get informed about alcohol, and I suggest you start with rethinking/drinking, which is, you can type that into any search engine. You'll come up with a website that tells you about alcohol, how much alcohol is in a standard drink, how much alcohol produces what effects on the body, etc. I think a second approach is to maybe possibly contact a primary care doctor, have them alerted, or have the person go in for their annual physical and have the primary care doc explain, what the deleterious effects of the bad effects of alcohol are on the body. But I think another approach that's probably perhaps easier for people to do is not to be confrontational, but rather to use some of the techniques of motivational interviewing. So you might want to suggest to a person, well, you have a New Year's resolution about losing weight, about having a better exercise program, what's alcohol's part in that? And then, maybe you want to get a new car, or maybe a new apartment, or a new sports equipment. Drinking a lot costs a lot. So one way to save some money would be to think about your alcohol issue.
Dr. Koob tells us there are a wide variety of options for treatment, depending what stage you're at in the process.
All treatments are not the same, and there's a wide variety of options that fits the wide range of what we call an alcohol use disorder, which today, is the American Psychiatric Association calls mild, mild, or severe. There are 11 criteria. It depends on how many criteria you meet. A severe alcohol use disorder is really, what we used to call alcohol dependence. But a mild alcohol use disorder could just be the beginning of some of the problems we've been discussing. So I recommend another website, alcoholtreatment.niaaa.nih.gov. We developed what we call a treatment navigator, and on this website you can find out what is an alcohol use disorder. You can find out what are the different treatments that fit the different stages of an alcohol use disorder. They range from certified counselors to outpatient facilities to 28-day rehab facilities and formal treatment programs that you might need for severe alcohol use disorder. There are behavioral treatments that are very effective, motivational interviewing I mentioned, cognitive behavioral therapy. There are actually 3 medications that have been approved by the FDA to help you along the way.
As Dr. Koob looks to the future, he advises everyone to start off the new year on a healthier note and utilize your resources if you or someone you know has had any issues or struggles with alcohol. Giving you the best of California. I'm Gigi Copes for California Life.
Tax time is certainly not a fun time, but it turns out that many of us are dependent on getting money back in a refund. In fact, in a new H&R Block survey, nearly half of American taxpayers say they're somewhat or very dependent on receiving a tax refund from the IRS. The survey also found that if a tax refund was delayed, the biggest concern for 25% of Americans would be not having enough money to pay necessities.
Well, the biggest concern is that the average tax refund is about $2,700. So for most Americans, not having that $2,700 is a big deal. It could be the difference between paying your rent or not paying your rent, paying certain bills off or not paying certain bills off. It's just the largest financial transaction most Americans have all year.
And while forgetting to sign your return is one of the biggest mistakes that leads to a delay, experts say other things on your return can also trigger a delay.
So a tax refund could be delayed because one of 2 credits exists on the return. Those 2 credits are the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Additional Child Tax Credit. If one of those 2 credits is on the return, the IRS could hold your refund up until late February. Those credits usually result having dependents on the return, and there's been a lot of fraud around the dependents, so the IRS is holding onto those refunds to make sure those tax refunds are accurate.
And if you're concerned about a delay in your tax refund and how it will affect your household finances, there are some options you can take advantage of.
So a taxpayer can come into H&R Block, have their tax return prepared, and apply for a refund advance. So refund advance is a no interest, no fee loan. It's offered through H&R Block. Bank of the Internet sponsors the loan, and it's up to $3,000. So if you apply for it with your tax return and you're approved, you can have up to $3,000 that day.
Aside from refund delays, taxpayers are also worried about the new changes in the tax law and how they're impacted as they prepare to file their 2017 tax returns.
So for 2017, most of those changes don't even come into effect. They come into play for 2018 moving forward. So when people come in and then they're filing their 2017 tax returns, most of everything won't have changed from last year. Starting 2018 and going forward, you need to really start planning for your tax refund. So adjusting the withholding through your employer, talking to your tax pro about it. If you own a certain business, making sure you allocate your expenses correctly. But it's really important to look at your W-4 and check the withholding allowances that your job is taking out.
So if things are tight this tax season, check out your refund advance options.
So for refund advance, you can go to hrblock.com/refund advance. For any of the other tax-related questions, you can call an H&R Block tax office and set up an appointment. There's no fee to come in and sit down with a tax pro and just ask questions.
And remember, the deadline to file your federal tax returns this year is April 17th. Bringing you the best of California, I'm David Wiley for California Life.
And that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us for our Valentine's special. And you can also see us online at CaliforniaLifeHD.com. We'll see you next time.